Hi, welcome to our channel where we share the most intriguing stories. When Matt bought 6 acres of raw Nevada desert, he wanted silence, not war. But the day a silver Lexus rolled up with an HOA queen inside, his dream home turned into a battleground. Power, lies, sabotage, one man versus a suburban tyrant, and he's got the receipts. I bought the land because I wanted silence. Not the fake kind, like noise-canceling headphones or Sunday morning suburbia. I wanted real silence, the kind you get when the nearest neighbor is too far to see, the kind that comes with desert winds and the occasional coyote. 6 acres of open space in Pahrump, Nevada. Flat, dry, raw, beautiful, and most importantly, not under any damn HOA. After years of building houses for other people, I finally had the permits, the money, and the time to build one for myself. A modern ranch-style home with exposed steel, matte black trim, solar on the roof, and a workshop out back big enough to park a truck inside. I wanted my own place with a big porch, sharp edges, and clean lines, the kind of home that said I earned this. Construction started mid-April. I had a good crew, 6 guys I trusted, including Dario, a young roofer who was quick with a nail gun and kept to himself, and Harvey, my crusty old foreman who'd seen more OSHA violations than wedding rings. The first few days were smooth. Footers in. Rebar tied. Concrete trucks came in on time. The crew camped in a trailer off to the side, and I stayed in town making daily trips out to check progress, haul materials, and smoke my lungs out without anyone telling me to stop. On day 4, trouble pulled up in a silver Lexus with HOA plates. She stepped out like she was posing for a campaign poster, slim, tanned, blonde bob stiff enough to stop a bullet, blouse tucked in like she was ready to command an army. She had a clipboard, a name tag, and that look. You know the one. The kind of look that tells you she's already decided she owns whatever her eyes can see. "Excuse me," she called out to Harvey, who was loading rebar into the lift. He didn't look up. "If it ain't the sheriff or a food truck, I'm not stopping." I walked over. "Can I help you?" She smiled like I'd just walked on her lawn. "Karen Longstrom, president of Silver Ridge Estates HOA." She let the title hang like I was supposed to salute. "Matt Hopkins, I own this land." Her smile didn't move. "Yes. Well, we've been noticing some heavy traffic on our side roads, and I wanted to check if your contractors have registered with our Architectural Compliance Board." I blinked. "What board?" "The HOA board," she said. "We require all construction traffic to check in and abide by visual uniformity standards." I laughed. "Lady, this land isn't in your HOA. It's not in any HOA." She frowned. "You're within visual proximity of Silver Ridge Estates. That gives us legal grounds to ensure community cohesion." I almost choked. "I'm building a house on private land, zoned residential agricultural, county-issued permits. Your visual cohesion doesn't apply here." She scribbled something on her clipboard. "You may find it harder to complete your project if the county receives reports of violations." And just like that, she turned and walked back to her Lexus, heels clicking like a threat. The next morning, a concrete truck driver called me. He couldn't reach the site. Someone had blocked the small connecting street with garbage bins and planter boxes. "Looks intentional," he said. "Like a wall made out of geraniums." I drove out. There it was. A makeshift blockade right where the private drive met the public road. I parked, moved the junk myself, and called the sheriff. Deputy Reese arrived an hour later. Young guy, fresh boots, mirrored glasses he hadn't earned yet. I showed him my parcel paperwork, tax map, access easement, and the exact coordinates where the bins had been dropped. He made some calls, nodded, then said, "Yeah, road's municipal. HOA can't block it." He knocked on a few doors, including the one with the Lexus in the driveway. Nobody answered. 10 minutes later, a teenage kid came and wheeled the bins away without saying a word. That evening, I found a printed paper zip-tied to my chain-link gate. A document titled HOA Visual Standards, Home Placement Guide. It had highlighter marks, a sticky note with "Your project violates this" in all caps, and a hand-scrawled message in red ink. Silver Ridge Estates is a community. Respect the harmony or expect the consequences. The next morning, I added 2 more trail cameras and switched to cloud-based backups. I had a bad feeling this was only the start. The next week, things started to get weird. First came the anonymous complaints. Not to me. No one had the guts for that. They went straight to the county building department. I got a call from a woman named Missy at the permitting office. "Hi, Mr. Hopkins. I just wanted to check in. We received a few community complaints about your site. Dust pollution, visual obstruction, structural noise, wildlife disturbance. You know, the works. I laughed into the phone. Wildlife disturbance? This is the Nevada desert. The loudest thing out here is the wind and the occasional jackrabbit. Missy chuckled too. Yeah, we know. Honestly, it looks like someone's trying to bog you down. I told my boss we'd inspected your plans and found no issues, but I figured you should know. 2 days later, Harvey called me at 7 in the morning. Someone bricked the driveway again. Trash bins, concrete planters. There's even a road closed sign this time. Says it's HOA maintenance. Anyone seen who did it? I asked. One of the guys saw that silver Lexus again last night, driving slow. I got there in 20 minutes, and sure enough, the road was barricaded again. Worse this time. Someone had even scattered gravel over the pavement, like they were trying to simulate construction work. This time, I brought printouts, county zoning maps, road designation documents. I called the sheriff's office again. Deputy Reese returned, clearly less amused than before. Same road, same HOA, same stunt, I said, handing him the packet. All right, he muttered. I'll file it under obstruction of public access. While we were talking, an older man in a golf cart came sputtering up the road. Beige sun visor, HOA badge on his shirt. His mouth was already moving before he stopped. You can't park your trucks here. These roads weren't designed for industrial vehicles. This is a private community. Deputy Reese stepped in before I could say something sharp. Sir, this is a county road. Mr. Hopkins has the right to access his land. The man scowled. He's not even one of us. He doesn't follow community standards. That's because I'm not part of your HOA, I said, arms crossed. I didn't sign anything. I don't pay dues, and I sure as hell don't take orders from you. The man sputtered, turned red, and retreated. By now, I knew better than to think this was over. I doubled the camera coverage that night, added a couple of floodlights too. I even set up one of those solar-powered trail cams pointed straight at the little road that fed into my driveway. Let Karen try and block that again. I'd get her in glorious 1080p. The following morning, one of my crew came in pale and pissed off. Greg, one of the framers. You're not going to believe what happened, he said. He pulled out his phone and showed me a video. It was grainy, taken from across the street. One of Karen's people, same old man from the golf cart, was walking up to our crew trailer. He banged on the door, yelled something we couldn't hear, then walked off and slapped a paper on the windshield of my truck. The paper was still there. A printed notice from Silver Ridge Security Committee. It claimed that unauthorized personnel were trespassing on HOA-aligned property and that vehicles in violation would be reported to the sheriff. That did it. I walked over, pulled the paper off, crumpled it, and threw it in the trash. Then I gathered the whole crew. If anyone from that HOA steps foot on this property, I said, you don't engage. You don't argue. You call me, and I'll call the cops. This is my land. We're not playing games. They nodded. No one wanted trouble. Least of all Diego, who kept his head down and worked like he owed the ground a favor. That afternoon, I dropped off a flash drive with all my camera footage at my lawyer's office, just in case. Karen hadn't broken any laws yet. Not exactly, but she was building up steam, and I'd been around long enough to know what that usually meant. It meant someone was about to snap. The day started quiet. A little too quiet, if I'm being honest. I had driven into Vegas that morning to pick up a custom set of metal stair stringers. Harvey stayed behind with the crew, framing the back half of the roof. Around 10 a.m., he texted me saying he was headed to the supply yard for joist hangers and a few lengths of conduit. That left Diego, Samir, and Marcus finishing the fascia install on the east side. By 11, I was on my way back. The sun was hot, sky blinding blue, and my only worry was whether I'd have time to unload before the wind picked up. That changed the moment my phone lit up with a message from Marcus. Man, something happened. Diego got hurt bad. EMT's on the way. Karen showed up. I floored it. I didn't even think. Just pure instinct. I covered that last stretch in 15 minutes flat and came up the road like a bat out of hell. When I turned the corner onto my property, I saw the ambulance. Then I saw Diego on a stretcher, arm in a splint, blood on his temple. Samir was standing beside him, visibly shaken. Marcus was giving a statement to a cop. Karen was nowhere to be seen. I jumped out of the truck before it stopped rolling. What the hell happened? I demanded. Marcus looked at me, jaw clenched. Karen snuck onto the site, came in from the back, through that gap in the fence line where the porta-potty truck squeezed through last week. We didn't see her until she was already yelling. Yelling about what? About Diego looking at her. He was up on the scaffold, screwing in the drip edge. She started screaming at him to stop gawking, called him a pervert. Then she climbed halfway up the scaffold, swear to God, and just shoved him. He went down hard, hit the dirt like a sack of bricks. My stomach dropped. I looked over to the cop, who was nodding solemnly at whatever Marcus was telling him. I marched over. I'm Matt Hopkins. This is my property, and he's my employee. I want to know what the hell is going on. The officer glanced at me, then looked back down at his notepad. Ma'am Karen Longstrom has already filed a report. She claims your worker assaulted her and that she was defending herself. Assaulted her? I repeated. Jesus Christ, did anyone actually see that happen? The officer raised an eyebrow. Do you have security cameras on site? You bet your ass I do. I left him standing there and stormed into my workshop where the NVR system was humming away in a locked steel case bolted to the framing. I yanked open the interface and pulled the timeline from camera 7, the rear perimeter view angled toward the east scaffold, and there she was, clear as daylight. Karen in her pastel blouse and yoga pants, crawling under a sagging stretch of mesh fencing. She crept up the gravel path like she was hunting squirrels. Then she popped into full frame, looking up at Diego on the scaffold. He was working, headphones in, focused, didn't even see her. She screamed something, raised her arm, and threw a handful of rocks or gravel at him. Then she charged up the temporary stair section and, without pause, planted both hands on his hip and gave him a violent shove. Diego flailed, fell backwards, hit the scaffolding edge, flipped, and hit the ground. It made me wince just watching it. Then Karen turned and bolted off frame like a goddamn cartoon villain. I pulled the video, exported it, switched to the angle from camera 6 where audio was clearer. Her voice, shrieking, insane. Diego's voice, absent. The kid never said a word. I walked back out and handed the flash drive to the cop. Here, video and audio. She attacked him. No provocation, no threats. Just pure, out-of-her-mind aggression. He took it, muttered something about needing to check it back at the cruiser. Meanwhile, the paramedics loaded Diego into the ambulance. He was conscious, eyes open, but his face was pale and sweaty. His right arm looked like someone had tried to fold it in half the wrong way. I'll meet you at Desert View Medical, I told the EMT. Tell him I'll be right behind. Karen was gone, but not for long. While I was pulling out, I saw her silver Lexus parked down the road near the HOA signpost. She was standing beside it, talking to a second sheriff's unit. She pointed up the hill toward my lot, crying. Actually crying. I watched as she showed them her scraped elbow, like she was the one who got flung 10 feet off a scaffold. It would have been laughable if Diego wasn't lying in an ambulance with a broken arm and probably a concussion. This wasn't HOA drama anymore. This was criminal. I followed the ambulance out of my driveway and down the dusty county road, white knuckles on the steering wheel, jaw clenched so hard my teeth hurt. I wasn't thinking about lunch, or the stair stringers, or the fact that the back of my truck was still loaded with steel. I was thinking about blood, about Diego lying in that stretcher, about how easily his life, and mine, could have changed because some unhinged control freak didn't like seeing a roof go up. When I got to Desert View Medical Center, I found the emergency entrance parked illegally and walked straight in. I told the nurse at the front I was the employer of Diego Morales and that I was here to cover his care. She gave me a look like she didn't quite believe me, but typed something into her terminal and told me he was in room 4, under evaluation. I got there just as the doctor was finishing up. Diego was awake but pale. His right arm was in a thick fiberglass brace and there was a fresh bandage on his forehead. Broken radius, the doc said. Mild concussion. He'll be sore for a while, but he's lucky. That fall could have done a lot more damage. I nodded. Thank you. I looked at Diego. You okay? He gave a weak chuckle. Guess I should have looked before getting pushed. He was trying to play it off, but his eyes were glassy. He looked like someone who'd just been told the ground wasn't trustworthy anymore. I'm paying for all of this, I said. The ambulance, the ER, everything. And I've already given the cops the video. Karen's going to pay for this too. Just legally. Diego didn't respond. He just nodded slowly, lips tight. While he rested, I stepped outside and called my attorney, Megan Liu. She picked up on the second ring. Tell me you're not calling because Karen finally snapped. She pushed one of my guys off a scaffold, broke his arm, said he assaulted her. There was a pause. Jesus, do you have it on tape? 2 angles, one with sound. Get me the files, immediately. I'll prep a criminal referral and civil suit. And I'll call Henderson PD myself to make sure they don't sit on it. I sent the files from the truck. Then I drove back to the site. My crew had stopped working. No one had the stomach for it. Samir was coiling extension cords like he was trying to stay busy. Marcus stood near the scaffolding, arms folded, still shaking his head. "You good?" I asked. He nodded. "Just pissed." That was messed up, man. Completely unprovoked. I know. I mean, she's been nuts this whole time. But that was some Lifetime movie network type of shit. I snorted. "You're not wrong." I checked the cameras again, confirmed the footage had auto-uploaded to my cloud storage, and printed 3 backup stills with timestamps and GPS metadata. Then I made another call, this time to the sheriff's office. I asked to speak directly to the responding Deputy Officer Cole. He got on the line. "Mr. Hopkins, I just reviewed the video." "And?" "It's pretty clear-cut. Your guy didn't do anything except fall. So what happens now?" "We're issuing a warrant for Karen Longstrom's arrest on charges of felony assault and false reporting. Should happen within the next few hours." I let out a breath I hadn't realized I'd been holding. "Thank you." That evening, I checked in with Diego again. His cousin had picked him up and taken him to a small rental unit outside town. I dropped off some groceries, a preloaded Visa card for expenses, and told him to take as much time off as he needed. "You didn't ask for this," I said. "I'm going to make sure you come out of it okay." Later that night, I poured myself a whiskey, sat on my tailgate, and watched the sun drop behind the hills. The cameras blinked quietly along the perimeter. The floodlights flicked on, casting long shadows across the gravel, and in the darkness I allowed myself one simple thought. She really thought she'd get away with it. I was up at dawn the next morning. I hadn't really slept, just stared at the ceiling, running scenarios in my head over and over. The only thing that gave me a shred of peace was the fact that the warrant had gone through. Karen Longstrom was now a wanted woman, officially. By 7, I was on site again. My crew had agreed to take the day off, except Marcus, who came by just to help secure some of the loose materials. We stacked plywood, strapped down tarps, locked up the container. The place felt hollow without the usual racket of saws and air compressors, like the whole site was holding its breath. Around 10, I got the call. "She turned herself in," said Officer Cole. "Came in with her attorney around 8:30. Didn't say a word. We booked her, fingerprinted her, took the mugshot. Bail was posted within an hour. She's out. Figures. But listen, she's not taking this lightly. Her attorney's already filed a response claiming the video was doctored. Be prepared for noise." "Oh, I'm ready for all the noise she's got." I thanked him and hung up. Barely had time to take a breath when my phone buzzed again, this time from a number I didn't recognize. I let it go to voicemail. When I checked it a few minutes later, my jaw clenched. "Mr. Hopkins, this is Greg Alverson with the Nye County Planning Commission. We've received a formal complaint regarding your property, specifically your utility hookups and right-of-way access. Please contact our office immediately, as we may need to place a temporary hold on construction until this is reviewed." I called him back right away. "What complaint?" "I can't disclose the filer's identity at this point." "Let me guess." "Karen Longstrom." He hesitated. "I'm just doing my job, Mr. Hopkins. According to the complaint, your water and electrical easements weren't properly registered with the county, and there's a claim that you've been interfering with native habitat zones." "Bullshit. Everything's permitted, and the habitat claim is garbage. I cleared that land legally with an environmental survey already filed." "Well, we'll need to verify that. Can you bring documentation to the office?" I didn't even wait. I drove straight to the Planning Commission building in Payrump with a folder thick enough to crush a squirrel. Blueprints, easement approvals, water district sign-offs, the whole damn trail. Alverson flipped through it with visible discomfort. "Okay, this looks in order. Honestly, this seems like a waste of time, but once a complaint's filed..." "Sure," I said, "just doing your job." He gave me a tight smile. "Look, off the record, I've seen a few of these from Silver Ridge Estates lately. Petty stuff. It usually goes nowhere. Then maybe it's time the commission starts keeping track of who's filing them. Some of us are out here trying to build lives, not fight HOA psychodramas." I left the office hot, frustrated, but clear on one thing. Karen wasn't done. Jail hadn't humbled her. If anything, it made her more dangerous. That evening, while reviewing footage, I spotted something odd. A man I didn't recognize standing near the end of my drive, snapping photos with a telephoto lens. He wasn't with the county, and he sure as hell wasn't from my crew. When I walked out to confront him, he bolted. I checked my inbox later. Sure enough, I'd received a notice of investigation from the HOA's attorney, claiming that community disturbances and property value degradation were being documented. So, now I was being surveilled. I forwarded the whole thing to Megan. Her reply was immediate. "We go nuclear. Civil suit goes in first thing Monday." Monday morning hit like a hammer. Megan filed the civil suit just after 8, and by 9, she'd already received confirmation of service. Karen Longstrom had officially been named in a lawsuit for assault, defamation, trespassing, interference with business operations, and emotional distress caused to Diego Morales. Damages claimed $500,000, and that was the conservative version. "Prepare for the flailing," Megan texted me. "She's going to go scorched earth." She wasn't wrong. By noon, I got an alert from the county records website. Someone had filed a complaint attempting to challenge the validity of my deed. That someone, a neighborhood coalition for environmental integrity, which didn't exist until the night before. Registered agent, a guy named Alan Chafee, who just happened to be Karen's brother-in-law. I called the recorder's office and flagged the filing as fraudulent, but the fact that it even made it into the system was enough to stall my construction permits. Again. Then the HOA mailed flyers, actual printed glossy flyers, to homes in the surrounding area claiming that my construction site was potentially violating historic soil conservation zones. They accused me of reckless soil compaction, disruption of natural drainage, and, my personal favorite, endangering rare desert owls. What owls? My land was a former goat pasture, flat, dry, full of goat poop, and not much else. By Tuesday, the media showed up. Local Channel 5 rolled into my driveway unannounced right in front of my no trespassing sign. A reporter in a sleeveless blouse with lip gloss like an oil slick asked, "Mr. Hopkins, do you care to comment on the growing environmental controversy surrounding your project?" "I care that a woman who pushed a man off scaffolding is now weaponizing bureaucracy," I said, looking straight into the camera. "I care that she's lying, and I have the video to prove it." The clip made the 6 o'clock news. They blurred Diego's face, but they showed the shove, the scream, the fall. After that, the tide began to shift. I started getting messages, some from people in Silver Ridge who hated Karen and were too afraid to say anything until now. One guy, Frank, even sent me PDFs, financial records from HOA meetings showing questionable spending, flower arrangements billed at over $3,000, multiple consulting payments to a company registered in Karen's maiden name, and gas. Reimbursements for trips to Las Vegas twice a week for community business. I forwarded it all to Megan. She nearly choked laughing. "We'll need depositions. I want that guy's sworn statement." Midweek, Karen's attorney filed a motion to dismiss my civil case, claiming her actions were protected under the HOA's duty to enforce standards. It was absurd. No HOA policy on earth gives you the right to push a man off a roof. Megan responded with a 30-page rebuttal, citing every trespass, every lie, and every form of intimidation. She even included drone footage from the day Karen blocked the construction entrance with garbage bins and planters. One clip caught her placing them personally, wearing gardening gloves and muttering to herself like a lunatic. We scheduled the first court appearance. I could feel the ground shifting. What started as one deranged woman interfering with my build had turned into a systemic unraveling, a network of lies, intimidation, and now fraud. And the best part? We were only just getting started. The morning of the hearing, the parking lot outside Nye County Courthouse was unusually crowded. A few folks milled around with coffee and clipboards. I recognized one of them, Sarah Beltran, a local blogger who ran a column on HOA corruption. I hadn't contacted her, but apparently the video had done its rounds. Inside, the hearing room was stuffy, the chairs too close together, and Karen sat 3 rows ahead with her attorney, her posture stiff as a steel rod. She didn't look at me. Good. I didn't want to look at her either, not after what she did to Diego. Judge Mallory, silver-haired and unsmiling, opened the session. Civil case number 6592, Hopkins v. Longstrom, preliminary matters. Ms. Yates, you may proceed. Megan stood like she'd been waiting for this her whole life. Cool, sharp, methodical. She played the scaffold video. No music, no commentary, just Karen's voice, shrill and unmistakable, screaming at Diego before shoving him. The thud of his body hitting the packed dirt still made my stomach knot. Karen's lawyer objected, said it was prejudicial. The judge overruled. Megan followed up with drone footage of the driveway blockade, the environmental flyers, and even had a notarized letter from Diego's attending physician outlining the extent of his injuries. Then came the surprise. Megan introduced a witness, Franklin Hovey, HOA treasurer. I almost fell out of my chair. Frank shuffled to the stand with a leather folder tucked under his arm, looking like a man who had finally had enough. Under oath, he testified that Karen had misused HOA funds repeatedly for personal travel, spa treatments, and decorative front porch expenses, totaling over $20,000. The environmental complaint against me was fabricated. There was never a motion or vote. The so-called neighborhood coalition was invented by Karen, and he'd seen her printing the flyers at her real estate office after hours. Karen visibly shrank in her chair. Her face went pink, then red, then gray. Her attorney asked for a recess. Judge Mallory leaned forward. Request denied. Sit down, counsel. After court adjourned for the day, Megan and I stepped outside, practically glowing. But the glow didn't last long. That evening, I got home and found my mailbox ripped off the post, spray painted across my fence in black. Liar. Manipulator. Fraud. It wasn't just vandalism, it was personal. Diego, who was still recovering but had come by to check on the job site, saw it too. You think it was her? No doubt in my mind, I said. She's spiraling. I called the sheriff's office and filed a report. They took photos, said they'd keep an eye out, but I knew better. Karen wasn't going to stop. Not unless we ended her entire kingdom permanently. By the end of that week, Karen had gone silent. Not the quiet kind of silent. No, this was the silence of someone coiling, waiting to strike. Megan warned me to be ready for something ugly. Cornered people do stupid things, she said. And Karen's whole empire just started to crack. She was right. Saturday morning, I received a letter. Not certified, not official looking, just slid under my front gate. No return address, typed in all caps. This is a warning. Stop dragging this community through the mud, or you'll regret it. No one likes a rat. I kept the letter, bagged it with gloves, and turned it over to the sheriff's office. They said it wasn't enough for charges, but it'd go in the file. Then Monday hit like a wrecking ball. The county inspector showed up with a stop work order, apparently due to newly surfaced concerns about improper backfill grading and impact on aquifer stability. My permits were being frozen again. Where did that come from? I asked the inspector. We got an anonymous tip with drone images and a signed statement from a concerned HOA committee member. Of course. Problem was, this time it wasn't just annoying, it was paralyzing. With the work halted again, subcontractors started calling to pull out. Materials scheduled for delivery had to be postponed. Even my own crew began asking whether this job would finish at all. I drove straight to the county office again, paperwork in hand, ready to fight. I got lucky. Greg Alverson was there. He looked miserable. Matt, I'll level with you. This is nuts. I've got 5 separate complaints on your property, all obviously linked, but since they're filed individually, we have to process them. Our hands are tied. Not anymore, they're not, I said. We've got court testimony. We've got fraudulent filings. You've seen the video. He hesitated, then nodded slowly. Let me talk to legal. That afternoon, Megan filed for an emergency injunction against the HOA and Karen Longstrom personally, citing malicious interference and retaliation during ongoing legal proceedings. Meanwhile, word kept spreading. The HOA board, those who hadn't already jumped ship, were being hounded by residents. Sarah Beltran published a blog post titled, "When the Queen of Silver Ridge Falls," and laid out everything. The attack on Diego, the fake coalition, the money trail. It blew up. People started calling for a full dissolution vote on the HOA. Then came the final blow. The county's fraud division, tipped off by Megan, opened an official investigation into HOA expenditures and misuse of public complaint mechanisms. Tuesday night, just before 10, I got a call from a blocked number. I didn't answer. Then came a voicemail, Karen's voice, slurred, furious. You think this is over, you smug bastard? You destroyed me. You think anyone's going to want to buy here now? You think you won? Click. I saved it, sent it to Megan and the sheriff's office. The next day, they brought her in, again. Not for vandalism, not for the voicemail, for fraud, multiple counts, forgery of official HOA documents, misuse of funds, filing false reports, intimidation, witness tampering. They took her straight from her real estate office in cuffs. The media caught it live. The Queen of Silver Ridge, gone. And I still had half a house to build. Karen's arrest made the front page of the Pahrump Valley Times. There she was in her pink blazer and matching handcuffs, being loaded into the back of a county sheriff's vehicle. The headline, HOA president faces multiple felony counts. Local builder speaks out. I didn't ask for media attention, but it found me anyway. By that afternoon, I was being asked for interviews. Local, state, even one Las Vegas outlet wanted a segment. I turned most of them down. All I cared about was getting back to work and making sure Diego's medical bills were covered. The judge granted Megan's emergency injunction against the HOA. It barred anyone affiliated with Silver Ridge Estates HOA from interfering with my land, my workers, or my permits. The county office, perhaps a little ashamed, unfroze everything the same day and quietly marked the previous complaints as unfounded. My crew returned. Diego came back too. His cast was off, and though he still walked with a limp, he refused to sit behind a desk. I came here to build a house, not do paperwork, he said. And we built. Fast. Like we were trying to reclaim the time Karen stole from us. Meanwhile, the civil case moved forward. Karen's attorney tried to settle quietly, but Megan refused. You don't get to shove someone off scaffolding and buy your way out of it, she snapped. We'll see you in court. The discovery phase was brutal for her. Bank records showed HOA funds paying for everything from salon visits to weekend getaways in Reno. Emails revealed she'd been coordinating with a sympathetic clerk in the permit office, someone who red-flagged my project repeatedly without basis. That clerk was quietly placed on administrative leave. Karen's defense unraveled fast. Her claims about defending the neighborhood were exposed as pure fabrication. There was no concerned committee, no environmental experts, just one obsessed woman who didn't like someone building where she could see it. Then came the public HOA meeting. It was supposed to be routine, but this time the community was angry. Over 50 people showed up. Many had never attended a meeting before, but they came with questions and printouts. Sarah Beltran passed out copies of her exposé. Someone stood up and motioned for a full vote to dissolve the HOA. Another demanded a forensic audit. The interim board, 3 panicked retirees who'd inherited the mess, agreed to both. The crowd cheered. Karen wasn't there, of course. She was in a jail cell, denied bail pending trial. By Friday, I stood on the ridge behind the house, watching the frame go up, my boots in the dirt, sun on my back. For the first time in months, the land was quiet. No HOA officers prowling the road, no sabotage, no threats. Just the sound of progress, finally unchained. We finished the build 2 months later. The final nail went in on a Thursday afternoon, just as a late summer thunderhead rolled in over the ridgeline. The air smelled like rain and sawdust, and the whole house stood clean and proud against the Nevada sky. My house, my land. No more barricades, no more lawsuits, no more HOA nightmares. Diego stood beside me, now fully recovered, arms crossed, looking at the finished cedar siding. Hell of a house, he said. You sure you want to live in it? Feels like it should be in a museum, I laughed. It's not just for me. You ever decide to move out of your apartment, there's a guest wing with your name on it. He smirked. I'll bring beer. A week later, the final hearing came. Civil judgment. Karen had already been found guilty in her criminal case. Assault, falsifying documents, perjury. The sentence, 7 years total with 3 years mandatory state time. No parole before 2. The judge didn't hold back. In my courtroom, he said, justice is not for sale, and personal vendettas are not legal strategy. Ms. Longstrom abused her authority, endangered lives, and corrupted local institutions. The public must be protected from this kind of civic predation. Then came our civil victory. Karen Longstrom and the now-defunct Silver Ridge Estates HOA were ordered to pay $850,000 in damages, covering delays, medical bills, lost contracts, and reputational harm. After the ruling, the county officially dissolved the HOA by majority vote. Its assets were frozen, its bank accounts audited. The remaining board members resigned en masse. Sarah Beltran's article went viral, and Karen lost her real estate license. Forever. The last time I saw her, she was in County Orange, shackled at the ankles, avoiding eye contact as 2 deputies led her out into the back of the courthouse. I didn't say a word. Didn't have to. 3 weeks later, I hosted a small housewarming. Just friends, workers, neighbors who'd stood by me. Diego made tacos. Megan brought champagne. Someone gifted me a wooden sign. It hangs by my front gate now, burned in dark lettering. Smile. You're on camera. Trespassers will be filmed and then prosecuted. Life is quieter now, but every time I look up at this house, I remember what it cost to build it and how close I came to losing the right to live freely on my own damn land. It was never just about wood and concrete. It was about fighting back and winning.